Good afternoon and welcome to Awaaz FM on 99.8 FM. My name is Ari Fazi and I will be hosting the Community Hour between 1 and 2 every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can also listen to us if you would like to go onto our website, which is Awaaz FM, and clicking on the Listen Live, or you can actually see us as well as hear us by going onto our Awaaz Facebook page. But please press the link. Now, the purpose of the Community Hour is to talk about topics within our community, and we have some interesting topics to talk about. And today, our topic is regarding financial planning, pensions for later life in ethnic minorities. So, a little background of the topic that we're talking about. So, a project funded by the ESRC to understand older individuals from minority ethnic communities' later life comes with a higher risk of poverty compared to their white British counterparts. So the research aims to provide inclusivity of individuals from minority ethnic communities in pension policy planning. The research project is being carried out by a group of researchers from Southampton University, and they are looking for volunteers to help in their studies of financial planning for later life. So to help us to talk about that, the researchers are all here. We have Sadaf, Spela, and we have Athina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Sadaf in the corner there. So thank you for being on the show as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Spina, is that correct, isn't it? Right. Okay. Great. So let's start off with our first question. I always like to ask the question because I always wondered, people might want to get into this topic. So can you explain, how did you get actually into this? So your background would be more political science.
Thank you for the question. So I'm a professor of gerontology and social policy at the University of Southampton. And I'm based in the Department for Gerontology. So that's the study of aging and the Center for Research on Aging. And I'm here with my two colleagues who are also part of the research group.
Okay.
Just going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Absolutely. So, Sadaf, yeah.
Hello, my name is Sadaf and I'm a research fellow at the Department of Gerontology, University of Southampton. And I'm working on this project, and my role in this project is to lead the quantitative part.
Okay, and quantitative meaning more than data. You're looking at data?
Yes, I will be looking into the data analysis and more statistical approaches.
Okay.
And then we'll be writing the report.
Okay, and can I just confirm? So you said you're in the department for?
Department of Gerontology, the same department.
Okay, so I just wanted to get this right. So how do you say this word again? So it's
Gerontology.
Gerontology.
That's
okay,
right.
which is the study of
aging.
Aging. Okay, I've learned something new today. I never knew that as well. So Spela?
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm Spela. I'm also a research fellow at the same department in the Center for Research on Aging, working on the same project, but I'm responsible for the so-called qualitative part of the study, which is conducting interviews with people.
I see.
So I talk to people.
Yep.
And,
So one is quantitative and you're doing the qualitative side of it. Okay. And again, what made you get into this type of field then?
So my background is in sociology, and then for my postdoctoral research position, I was working on age-friendly neighborhoods, so things connected to aging, and working with ethnic minorities as well. So then that's how I got into it.
Okay, and Athina, how would anyone else get into this field that you're into?
Good question. So it's a very, what we call interdisciplinary field. So you may have studied any subject in the social sciences or even beyond. But we know that aging is something that affects everyone. And we know that policymakers and societies always have to think about what to do with older people and policy solutions. So actually you can study sociology, statistics, economics, but we've also had students who come from architecture, medicine, social work, law. Really, there's no discipline where in the future you're not going to have to deal with the fact that our population is aging.
Yeah, fantastic. It's always nice to know, especially people who are trying to get into a field, don't really understand where it's leading to. And I think this is what's great about the Community Hours, that we're always asking people who come onto the show that there's another field out there. There's a branch that you can get into, which is really good. And we're hearing it from the experts, really, so which is great. Okay, so your research, financial planning, is it possible you can just give us a little bit of an overview? I know we're going to be delving into more of the topic itself, but just a quick overview of what you're actually looking for the financial planning in ethnic minorities.
Mm-hmm. So this project is about using a variety of different methods to try to collect and analyze information to do with how individuals from different groups plan for later life financially. So we know already from research that different ethnic groups do better or worse in terms of different types of resources. And our project is really trying to add to that information, because we know that there is a gap in our understanding of how individuals from different minority ethnic groups prepare for later life.
Okay.
So that's in essence what we're trying to do.
Right. Okay. And I know we're going to talk, you've got ways of doing this as well. There are some innovative approach to this, which we will talk a little bit about a bit later on. But also you're looking for volunteers or participants for your project. What are your requirements for these? And again, for anyone who's listening out there, we will go over what the actual requirements are. But what are the what are you looking for? So is that you? Yep, if you can.
Sure. Yeah, so we're looking really for people who are above 45 years of age and live in Hampshire. So it's very loosely defined. So, and people who identify as members of any of the ethnic minority groups, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Black Caribbean, Black African, other white and white British as well.
And male and female.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
All right.
So anyone who is above 45 and lives in Hampshire, basically.
And you just want to, what are you sort of looking for all these volunteers or these participants? What are you, just overall, what are you looking for?
So we would ask them to actually take photos of what financial resilience means to them, and we would provide instructions and guidance. And then we would meet for a 1-hour interview to talk about these topics in more detail.
Okay, great, right. So the project itself is actually funded by what's known as the ESRC, which I did explain at the beginning. So can you tell us a little bit about what is the ESRC, maybe what it stands for as well?
Sure. So ESRC stands for Economic and Social Research Council. It's part of the UK's research councils. So it's the specific one that focuses on social sciences. And in our line of work in academia, it's the largest funder of our research. And basically, it comes from taxpayers' money. So we are, every time we want to apply for a research grant, we submit an application, it goes through a competitive process, and then we are awarded an amount of money to conduct that research. So that's what the ESRC is, basically.
Okay, all right. And I suppose it's a lengthy process actually applying to these funding, and you've got to have a strong, I suppose, a hypothesis, a reason for this, the research that you're doing, which we will go a little bit more about it. But so the Economic and Social Research Council, so the ESRC, is the UK largest funder of economic, social, behavioural, and human data science. And it was founded in 1966, and from 1982, it was recommended greater focus on empirical research, i.e. observable or factual research, and hence became the ESRC from 1983. Now, the funds funds world-leading research to help raising productivity, address climate changes, improve public services, and generate a prosperous, inclusive, healthy, and secure society. So I suppose I'm going to ask the next question. Who proposed the research for the financial planning for later life policy program for the ethnic minority, and why did it come about?
Okay, so the ESRC, as a funder, always invites people to submit applications for research. But they had a specific call for applications a few years ago, which was called inclusive aging. And as part of that call, they invited research projects that help us to understand different aspects of aging and how people age in a different way in diverse communities. So we applied, myself and another colleague actually who is not with us today, Professor Yuan Yin from the Winchester School of Art. That's also where the innovation comes in. And we applied for this grant, and then we were very lucky to be funded, and we were able to join Spella and Sadaf to the team.
Okay.
So that's where it came about.
Right. Okay. And but why specifically on ethnic minority? Where did that? Why? Who thought of this idea of starting this project?
So it was our idea on the basis of what we know already from research about ethnic minorities. So just to give you a sense, the other projects that were funded by this inclusive aging call focused on other parts of society which are understudied. So one of them, for example, had to do with sexual minorities. Another one focused on, I think, how different socially excluded groups are treated as they age over the life course. Our project was the only one to focus on pensions and finances, which I think is an area that is really difficult to research, but at the same time, it's very rewarding because we are understanding more and more of this research puzzle.
Okay, and where, for the research you're looking at, for example, sort of data, what part of the actual research of why this was come about? So, you wanted to, the research that you're doing for the ethnic minority. So the question is, well, why did it come about? But did they have some sort of data in the past to feel that there is some issues or problems with the ethnic minority?
Yes, there's a data, like we have two datas like we are going to use in the study, but this data were also like before, here we will be using two data, understanding society and a family resource survey data. So understanding society is a longitudinal data which is conducted every year, and here we in this data, like we have the data from 2009 to the recent to 2023, and this data includes like health.
And to be specific, the data is for ethnic minority.
Yes, it contains the ethnic boost sample, which ethnic boost sample is which includes the ethnic minority people as well in the participants.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand why this research is happening and why so basically in the past there was some sort of research that was done, but they were specific, and you're just trying to put all those research, the data side of it, all the research that's been done, and hence trying to find a bigger picture, because at the end of the day you're looking for a policy.
Correct. So we already know that there's differences in how people from different groups fare across the life course and in later life. In other words, some groups of some ethnic minorities, we have noticed from previous research that they are doing less well in terms of pension protection in later life. What we don't know is why. Why are there such differences between the white British group and other groups? But we also don't know, even though we know those differences, we also don't know how people prepare for later life. So if, for example, they are not entitled to a state pension, do they have different investments, or are they preparing in a different way for later life? So our project tries to understand both things, both the differences and the reasons behind them, but also how.
And I think this is great because we're asking a very simple question, and we don't know the answer. Is that what you're saying? And it is how and why, and this is just fantastic to get this. Look, if anyone would like to ask any question, we've got our WhatsApp number, which is 07784 691 440. Please send us a message. We've got the experts here, so you can ask any questions. Now, sort of going back to data, how are you actually getting the data then for this research?
Okay, nice question. So this data, provided by the UK Data Archive. So in order to access this, one can register it, and it's free, but we need to register it before.
So it's a UK Archive data
service.
Right. And
Yes.
and what specifically are you looking for when you're looking into this data?
Okay, so first, I'm looking into this longitudinal data by understanding society. So in this data, basically we are looking into this long-term effects of social and economic change, and through which we can design policy aspects, especially in terms of pension among minority and Black focusing on them.
Right.
And this data provides not just about the individual aspect, but it's also provide the household aspects, family, socioeconomic, subjective indicators, health, and also demographic factors, which are very important.
Okay. And is there a way of actually breaking down the data with the different ethnic minorities?
Yes,
Okay.
we have.
You are breaking that down.
It's already there.
Uh-huh.
We just need to represent it in a nicer way.
Okay. So is there a way of trying to identify, for example, is there a particular ethnic minority where you find that there is then doing lack or less of social or pension or financial planning? Is there something that you're already seeing?
Yes, we have seen so far. We found that Pakistani and Bangladeshi ethnic minority groups, they are less likely to receive occupational pension, workplace pension, and also the state pension. And if you look into this pension credit, these groups, Pakistani, Bangladeshi group, and also some way Indian groups, they are more likely to have pension credit.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I mean, because the research is it new? How long has this research has been going on for?
The existing data is about 5 years old, 6 years old. What we're trying to do now is add to that empirical evidence so that we can improve our understanding of the gaps, but we are also in a better position to inform the people who design the policies.
But this research project has been going on for how long?
It's been going on for a year.
Oh, okay, right.
And it's a 3-year project.
Okay, all right. I say so. It's a 3 years project. It's been going on for about a year, and hence you're just collecting the data. But there are some empirical data out there that you're already getting, and hence the information about, for example, the Pakistani, Bangladeshi. It's still information gathering, because would you have all the information yet, or is there's still more information you're looking for from this research?
We have also calculated the saving or investment variable, which and the result says that Pakistani and Bangladeshi group are less likely to have any kind of savings or investments other than pensions.
Okay, right. Okay, your research also aims to improve the inclusivity of the individuals from minority ethnic communities in pension policies. How are you proposing you will improve inclusivity?
Okay, so that's a really important part of the project. So the policies that are designed for all individuals in this country, what we find is that they benefit some groups more than others in some ways. So the way this project is trying to improve inclusivity is by highlighting the gaps between the different groups, which is sometimes not done, even in research, even in public documents from the government. Just to give you an example, the statistics published by the government on the differences between ethnic groups very often merge groups together. So it's not possible to see if the Pakistani or the Bangladeshi groups, for example, are doing better or worse.
I see. And how do they merge them? What do they generally call? Would they just generally merge them to ethnic minority?
It might be called. There might be just one group called Black, which includes all Black African or Black Caribbean, and there might be a group called South Indian or even Asian that includes people from different countries and different ethnic groups. What we can do in this project is really distinguish between communities and show that there is a relative advantage or disadvantage to be had by specific groups.
Okay, so when we're talking about ethnic minority, are we also talking here in your research, for example, people from the Chinese background as well? And we are talking about also, like you said, the Africans, the Black from the Afro-Caribbeans, because I know a lot of them also came here as well in the 50s. Is there any others that we're not including in this, or is it just?
I think you've mentioned the main groups that we're interested in. There is another group called Other, which includes all the other individuals from other parts of the world. But the main ones you've mentioned, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Black Caribbean, and Black African are the main groups that we're interested in.
I see. Okay, right. The research also addresses a gap in the understanding of social economic factors affecting pension protection. Can you explain in simple language what does social economic factors affecting pension protection? What is it actually? What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
So there may be many reasons why individuals from a specific community pay into a workplace pension scheme, or there may be reasons why they decide not to. Those reasons may relate to the fact that they are in the labor market to start with or not. They may relate to the fact of that they are doing a specific type of job. For example, they may be self-employed or employees, or they may relate to cultural reasons, which is about how they expect to be treated by the state and how they expect to make the most of the existing welfare state options available to them. So socioeconomic factors refer both to the social class and status of an individual, but they may also relate to cultural factors, which are a bit harder to measure.
And also the difference between men and women?
Absolutely,
and
gender differences.
Does that play a big factor?
It's a very big factor. Sadaf mentioned the Bangladeshi and Pakistani groups. We actually find a hierarchy between men and women. So when you interact or combine gender with ethnicity, you find that Bangladeshi women are the weakest group, if you like, in terms of pension protection, whereas at the very top is white British men. So once you insert gender in the equation, you do find quite a nuanced picture of gender equalities combined with ethnic inequalities.
Okay, so are you saying that you make some sort of, is it like a
ranking
or a ranking order?
I've called it hierarchy. But
yes, you do, but there is such a thing.
Yes.
I see. And you're saying that at the top would be, for example, a British white man, but at the bottom you're saying would be generally you would rank that the female Bangladeshi community women would be less prone for the having more of the, what's the right word, the social economic difficulties that can come about from
Correct.
financial stuff. Right.
If we use pension protection as a measure, that's the hierarchy that you end up with.
And do you link that with, for example, education, literacy, all of those?
All of those things are precursors, what we might call variables that affect where individuals find themselves.
Okay.
So if you start with education, that will affect the type of employment. Employment will affect your type of pension scheme that you have access to, and then that will affect how prepared you are for later life. So those things are interlinked. I
see, and that's what you will be doing. That's what your data. You're looking at those data and trying to link all those factors, which can be quite a lot to do, isn't it? It's quite demanding because there are so many variables.
Yeah.
And trying to understand those variables and trying to link them together is quite a tricky thing to do. Okay. So why this concern now then for the future generation and older individuals from the minority ethnic communities in the UK? Why now?
So in the UK, we have a population that is aging, but it's also at the same time becoming more and more diverse. So when you combine those two things, what you end up is with a population where the aging of some groups raises some alarm bells in terms of their financial security. So we're living in an interesting time. For us as researchers, it's a really exciting time, but only because we are seeing generations of people from ethnic groups going into later life. But we're also seeing the policy system, the pension scheme, trying to adjust to newer cohorts of people entering the labor market. So one example of that is the automatic enrollment scheme. So the government said that individuals from 2012 onwards who are aged 22 and all over will be enrolled on a pension scheme automatically so that they will be helped as they reach later life. So what we're seeing is policy changes as well as demographic changes, and that makes it a really exciting topic.
And can you just explain a little bit more about, because you said that the demographic is changing. Since when? What are we talking about? Since the 60s? 70s?
So 50s and 60s is when we see those migration waves of different groups coming in. What we have compared is the census points of 2021, 2011 and 2001. So based on those 10-year gaps, we can see that the population is aging, but it's also becoming more and more diverse. In other words, the proportion of white British people is decreasing, and the proportion of non-white British people is increasing over time.
Right. Do you know why?
It's because we are seeing the populations aging, coming into the country, but also aging as they stay here.
I see. Okay, right. We're all the way halfway through, actually. We've got a short break, so please do stay tuned.
Community Hour on Awaaz FM.
Welcome back to Awaaz FM on 99.8 FM. We are talking about pensions or financial planning for policies such as pensions, and especially within the ethnic minority group. So your research is also is to consider financial resilience in the context of their social network and living arrangements. And you're also looking at innovative methods to describe what late life financial planning means to them. So I suppose this will be you, Spieler. Sorry. Can you list these innovative methods then to us?
Yes. So one of the main method is the so-called photo voice method. So this method is, let's say, relatively new, and we chose it because we could do like conventional interviews, but by bringing in this method, we allow participants to be a little bit more empowered and represent their communities or themselves in a different way, in a way where they can reflect on their thoughts and things like that prior to the interview. So what we do is we ask participants to take photos of what financial resilience means to them, and they can point out some concerns in their communities and things like that.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. So you would take pictures what you felt was financial resilience.
Yeah.
So what, as an example, what do you mean by that?
So, for example, we would ask participants to take photos of how they prepare financially for later life, like how they save or what they spend on, or if they have any concerns with regards to spending or how the.
But you said to take a photo of that.
Yeah.
I'm still not really understanding.
Okay.
I'll put a picture in this. So if you can just explain or
give an example, right? Like, for example, we would ask them whether the cost of living crisis impacted them in any way, and to try to represent that through taking photos of something. So, for example, somebody could take a photo of food and represent that as the food prices going up, and talk a little bit about that.
Okay. And we've had people on the show talking about council taxes going up, or how would you take a picture of that? For example, a bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
You basically, people can get as creative as they want.
Right. I see.
So it can be a very abstract photo, or it can be a very, very literal photo of the bill itself.
Okay.
Things like that.
Because people think differently, don't they? I suppose I would be thinking more analytically, but people could think, for example, the council building.
Yes.
Would be
definitely.
As an abstract way of thinking about. Right. I got you. Okay. So taking pictures of those and then word them next to it. Is that what you would do?
So
right.
A short description, just to give it some context, and then we would meet either individually or in smaller groups to discuss those photos in more detail. To critically evaluate the issues that they brought up, and have a dialogue around the concerns that they might have within their communities. And then in the end, we would also publicly exhibit those photos for the policymakers to come. So in this way, the participant gets kind of like a direct link to the policymaker, which through interviews usually they don't, because we sometimes just quote them, but in this way they can express their concerns or thoughts in a more direct way.
Okay, right. Okay, so we got pictures, or taking pictures and having a short description of how it's affecting them.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else then?
In terms of the methods?
Yes.
So this is our main method.
And how did you come about this? Why? What made you think that this would be... I don't know. How would that would help for this research? How did that come about?
Yeah. So this method is used in research quite a lot, actually. Recently, a lot of the research on health, because it's a good way for people to be able to describe their experiences. And rather than meeting a person for the first time and just speaking about these very personal things, it also gives people more time to reflect and think about these things before meeting me for a conversation, for example. So we thought that this could be a good way of, financial planning and things like that can be a sensitive topic for people.
Okay, and would you from that would you link data to that? Would you somehow use going back to statistics and statistics modeling from that?
Yeah,
you would
definitely. Yeah, we'll.
How?
So Sadaf and the team will identify the main gaps, like Athina mentioned before, and what we will get with these interviews and photos, with this qualitative data, is get a very rich deeper understanding of why these gaps occur in the first place.
Okay.
So we get a bit more insight into how these communities, save, what are the different approaches.
Okay, so can I ask then, if you have, for example, let's say a Bangladeshi lady who might not be as educated, so they've come over, they can't speak the language fully, maybe they're not very with it regarding photo, how would you help them? Would they still be able to volunteer or to participate in your research, or would that be a little bit more tricky?
No, definitely. We would accommodate for everyone's needs. So we would have a translator. And if somebody needs more help with the photo taking, this is also fine. So we can provide help and guidance and instructions. So people shouldn't worry about their photography taking skills.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not expecting professional photographs
or description, but you just want to.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, we're just trying to say on the radio here that anyone is for this
very
research,
welcome.
and it's important that everyone can.
Yeah.
But the example you gave is a really good one. The voice of that lady hasn't been heard in research or statistics so far. So what our project is trying to do is combine the national picture that we have from anonymous surveys with real lives and perspectives in terms of what people tell us and take photos of. So that example, I think, was really poignant because that's exactly the people that we're trying to capture with this project.
Yeah. So if you do feel, or you know anyone in your family member that can help with this, then what we're going to do is that we have a Community Hour Facebook page. So if you look for us, it's the Community Hour on Awaaz FM, and we will be putting we'll be putting out what type of participants or volunteers we're actually looking for, and we'll be giving the data, the information such as, which you'll give at the end. Is that right? How people can contact to get into this research if you find that that is interesting. Is there anything? Would they gain anything from this?
Hopefully they maybe get some new information regarding the pensions and things.
No. I mean, would they get a benefit, for example, for participating?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, what is that?
It's a £25 shopping voucher.
There you go.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think I might be doing this. Get involved in it. Well, okay, brilliant. So these are the innovative. And why? And you call it innovative. Why is it innovative then? What is it that is innovative? If it's already been done in the past, then.
Well, so usually research either analyzes statistics or collects information from participants through interviews. Doing a mixed methods project that tries to use both types of data and also constantly asks questions of both types of data is quite rare. So it's innovative in the sense that we're trying to fill gaps in what we know already, but we're also trying to improve the participation of different groups in academic research per se.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Now, you also want to listen to real life narratives in order to get a better understanding of their experience in their communities. What are you looking for to help with your conclusion to your research? So what is it about the real life narratives that you're actually looking for to help you for your conclusion?
So the way people prepare for later life can take many different forms. And when we say real life narratives, that's exactly what we mean. We want to give policymakers a real flavor of how people prepare for later life. So if they don't participate in employers' pensions, if they don't receive state pensions, then what do they do instead? Just to give you an example, we had one of our group meetings where we heard a gentleman from India say, I don't invest in this country, but I have a lot of investments back home in India where the interest rates are better and where I know that there's family members that are looking out for me and my investments. So we want to get an understanding of how diverse the ways are that people prepare for later life.
Okay, right. But again, you will have different factors, for example, education, gender, and all of those. So those will, but your real life narratives. So, that was one example, which is great. But what other type of real life narratives are you talking about? So, for example, could it be that, for example, people within the ethnic minority, that they have, they've always been dependent on their husband, and they don't think about, for example, about the future financial because they always have their husband.
That's a very good example. The example I wanted to give was different age groups. So you see a change between older persons from ethnic groups and younger people. So you may have a change in how people enter the labor market and prepare for later life, and we want to hear about that. So if it is true that people so far have invested and relied on their family members to a greater extent for later life, and if we see that changing over time, then policymakers need to know about that.
I see. Yeah. So, for example, if they were dependent on their husband, but then on their children in later life, you want to know whether that trend is still continuing,
exactly,
or whether is there a change?
Exactly, because we already know that there is a change in terms of labor market participation. But is there a change in terms of how people view culture in later life, whether they expect family to take care of them, or whether they prefer to also have some independent source of income? We don't know.
Okay, right. Your project also uses data from large-scale social surveys, including Understanding Societies and the Family Resource Survey. So what are these surveys? I understand, that is the Understanding Society and Family Resource Surveys. So can you break them down, these data?
Sure. So both of those are what we call nationally representative. So they are only small surveys of, well, when we say small, about 40,000 people from, 100,000 people from 40,000 households is Understanding Society. So they're not surveys of every single person in the country. But when we analyze them, they give us a picture at the national level.
And sorry, is this would be for both, for everyone, white, ethnic minorities,
Correct.
Everybody? Okay.
Correct. Sadaf mentioned earlier on that these surveys have what we call an ethnic boost. In other words, the survey team has tried really hard to recruit people from ethnic minorities to participate in the surveys. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do any analysis that includes ethnic minority individuals. And we take that data and we analyze it. It's all anonymous. And it gives us a sense of the national picture at the national level. With the qualitative data, we try to fill the gaps in a more detailed and nuanced way.
And is there a way of trying to extrapolate from that data set who are the ethnic minorities, or is that just too difficult?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
It depends how far you want to cut the cloth. So if, for example, you're interested in men and women, immediately you have to halve the Bangladeshi population in half. If you are then interested in younger people as well, you have to cut the cloth in 4 times. So it depends how many groups you want to get out of the analysis.
Right. Okay. Right. You also use the survey for the study of pension protection and saving among individuals from minority group. Will your volunteers from ethnic minorities help to fill in the missing information that you require for your proposal, for your research?
We very much hope so. So we are interested in whether people save formally and whether people save informally. So my savings account, for example, may be the same as another person's investment in the family restaurant or another person's investment in a different country. So we want to try to understand the diversity in the savings mechanisms.
Wow, right. That's interesting. I see. Okay. So are we talking about different countries, do you think, would save differently in your in your maybe thinking of in your research?
Yeah, different ethnic groups, definitely. We already know that they benefit to a different extent from state pensions. What we don't know, the black box, is what else do they do instead?
Okay. And for example, people investing back in their own countries.
Exactly.
I see. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. Your research is also liaising with a range of local and national stakeholders as part of the projects, and they include the Department for Work and Pensions, the Age UK Southampton, Southampton City Council, the People's Pension, Citizen Advised Southampton, the Pension Policy Institute, the John Hansard Gallery, okay, and the Runnymede Trust and the Institute for Fiscal Studies. And you're also in collaboration with Cantor School. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What I understand all these, I mean, which is fantastic. So the data and the information is huge. But Cantor School, where does that come from?
Very good question. One of the most exciting parts of our study so far. So just last week, we spent the day at Cantor School with my colleagues and some more colleagues from the University of Southampton with 240 year 11 students. So these are 16-year-olds.
Okay.
And our job was really to pose some questions about financial literacy. How much do you know about pensions? How would you prepare for later life? Do you think it's smart to save now and have more later? Those kinds of questions that sometimes 16-year-olds may have thought, but maybe not have talked about very much.
And sorry, did you do that for everybody?
For the whole year.
For the
11.
whole year. Right. Okay. Right.
Yes, it was
Okay.
240 students.
Yeah.
And we had a fantastic time. Some of the things they told us were absolutely amazing. And we hope that they will also go back and speak with their families and friends about financial issues, because it's very important.
And could you determine people from the ethnic minority having a different sense of financial planning or policy planning compared to the British whites?
So we still haven't analyzed all the data.
Okay.
But from what we heard, we did hear some very different approaches to this issue. For example, in some families, talking about financial issues is a completely no-go area. In other families, it is really important, and there are much more open discussions about how to prepare for later life. So we did find differences, which may be attributed to things like religion, education, or even just the whole family dynamics. So those are the kinds of things that we want to analyze a bit more.
Okay, can I just ask a little bit about the religion? So you did mention that. Does religion play a factor in policy planning?
We already know that it does.
Oh.
So there is this group called the Runnymede Trust who have done research in this topic. And we know, for example, that in specific religions like the Muslim religion, some types of investment are acceptable, but not others. We know that some types of interest and investment are acceptable, but not others. So we do know that it affects how people prepare. What we don't know is whether those ways are changing over time and whether younger people still follow and adhere to those religious expectations.
Okay, right. So now from your data that you are collecting, I know it's a 3 years research, but can I just ask then, from gathering data from your stakeholders, your volunteers, do you think you can make or create a policy to help the ethnic minorities in their financial planning, such as pensions for the current young adults as well as the current pensionable adults? Do you think that, I mean, I know that's your aim, but do you think you are heading towards that? I know it's only been 1 year, but do you feel that you are getting the data and the qualitative information that you're getting?
Yes, I mean, we haven't finished collecting data, but so far we know that pension protection is almost like the end game, and that there are another number of factors leading up to becoming financially secure for later life. So, for example, entering the labor market to start with, and finding a job as an employee as opposed to being self-employed, and then being interested in participating in any workplace pension that is offered to yourself. Those are steps that people can take to prepare for later life. So if we were to go back to a policymaker today and advise them about pension planning, it would actually have to do with policies that encourage people to enter the labor market to start with and stay in the labor market as an employee. Because those are the steps, the initial steps that can make a difference in terms of being in poverty in later life or not.
Okay, right. And do you feel that there is a change in the generation compared to the older generation their way of planning and thinking?
We're already seeing that change in terms of employment. So we know, for example, from research that younger couples from Indian, Bangladeshi, and Pakistani communities are more likely to include two breadwinners, what we call breadwinners, as opposed to just one. So we do see a change in terms of engaging with the labor market. It might be too soon to say whether those couples will then be secure in later life, but it's definitely in the right direction.
Okay, and again, I suppose I know I've already asked you this question, but why this? Why do they want to see this difference in policies and change? But I know that you're saying that there's an increase in the number of minorities in the country, but is there any other reasons for these policies, do you think?
I mean, the key reason is that some ethnic groups, and specifically women from ethnic groups, are more likely to be in poverty in later life.
Right.
Now, one might argue that it's poverty if you look at statistics, but actually, if you look at their family network, they are taken care of. But we really need to have evidence of not just the poverty levels, but also the mechanisms leading individuals to those situations.
And a lot of that would be quite hidden as well, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But it has been identified that there are people within the ethnic minority who are becoming impoverished and
who are at a much greater risk of being in poverty.
I see.
Yeah,
right.
Women specifically.
And women specifically. Okay. And hence, please, women out there, please do volunteers. Going back to your volunteers, so can you just remind us what type of volunteers you're looking for? What is it that you're looking for? And don't forget the reward side of it as well. That's important.
So we're looking for anyone who is above 45 years of age and lives in Hampshire, and you identify as a member of any ethnic minority group, including other white and white British groups. And for your participation, you will receive a £25 shopping voucher. And if you are interested, do contact me via email or...
Do you want to say that on the radio?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it's s.mocnik@soton.ac.uk. Or you can text me or call me at 077 699 81190.
Okay.
So 077 699 81190.
Okay, right. Yeah. And you're looking for, I mean, what are you looking for numbers? How many are you ideally looking for this research?
We're looking for around 130 individuals, so quite a large number of people. And we started already, so we do have a few participants, but we do need a lot more. So feel free to reach out.
Right. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this? You're doing this research. Is there some sort of modelling you're doing with this, or? I know there's a lot to take it, a lot to say in a very short minute.
The statistical modeling is really complex, and Sadaf, it's in hand. But the point I wanted to make is just like the name of your station. Our project is about listening to different voices from the community. So we really hope that it will be an inclusive project, and it's really down to your listeners to take part.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, we look forward to it, actually, and I really do. Would you come back on the show again to give us an update on...
We'd love to.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And again, we can just go through the whole thing again, just for if there is anyone out there that would like to know more about it, or... just to keep going on, because it's a long project. Well, I mean, you've got another 2 more years.
Correct.
To get a policy in place.
Correct. And we'd love to come back and also talk about some of the policy recommendations.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on to the show. Really appreciate it. It's been fantastic, and we really do look forward to it. And
thank you.
Everyone, again, I hope you're ready to participate in this. But tomorrow we have our next show.